Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. This is video 2 in the series where we're looking at recording guitars using a Bosch GT-1000 and recording into Universal Audio's Luna. In the first video we recorded 4 guitar tracks into a really short song, so let's have a quick listen to the track before we go any further. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link up here. But what we're going to do today is just to move on to EQ and compression. Now we're going to start with the first guitar, which is this Esquire guitar here. Now we used only one sound from the Bosch GT-1000 and all the different tones came from a pedal board. So what I'm going to do first of all is just to play you this guitar part so you can have a listen to the problems. So as you can hear, there's loads of noise on this track. Now what we could do is to add some noise reduction software. The thing about guitar, especially if you're using overdrive, is you're going to get noise. And the thing is, in a track like this, the noise doesn't really matter. If you're doing a track where it's a single guitar and a vocal, obviously the noise is going to matter a hell of a lot. So what I'm going to do first of all is just to clean up the start of that track. So let's zoom in. Now I can see that the track starts here. So let's just bring that back. And we've got a short fade in there. Now let's have a listen. So that's the first thing sorted. Now let's add some EQ. If I go into my inserts, I'm going to add a FabFilter Pro Q3. Now I use FabFilter Pro Q3 on pretty much every track, either for shaping sounds or for removing unwanted frequencies. So what I'm going to do first of all is just to put a high pass in there. Let's solo that track. Now I've set the high pass to 93 Hz. The reason why I've done that is to remove any unwanted frequencies from the track. Now I want to leave some space for the kick drum and the bass, so that's why I'm removing all of those ultra low frequencies from the guitar, as you don't really need it in the guitar track. Now also what I'd like to do with this track is to add some high frequencies in there. Now what I could do, I could boost the high frequencies, or I could remove some of the muddy frequencies from the guitar track to make it feel like we're getting some more high end in there. So let's solo that track and let's find the frequency we want to remove. I've got this overtone at 221 Hz that I'm just gonna dip back slightly. If I bypass the plugin and bring it in, because I've removed that muddy frequency, it's actually made the guitar feel like it's a bit brighter. Now we are going to need to give the guitar a bit of a boost, but I can do that when I'm adding the compression. The next thing we're going to add is a compressor, and I'm going to use a Waves CLA 76 for this. So as you can hear, because we've got a slow attack, we've actually brought out some of the pick attack. Now I'm going to speed up the release. Now with the CLA 76, we get the choice of the bluey and the blackie. Basically the bluey is a blue stripe 1176 and the blackie is the old blackface ones. So let's try the bluey. Now personally I prefer the bluey, it's a bit more aggressive, so we're going to leave it on that. And let's just give it a little bit of a boost just to make it cut through just that little bit more. Okay, we've got these two rhythm guitar parts here. Let me just solo them. Now, because we're using the GT-1000, I've already EQ'd inside of the GT-1000 when I was actually recording. So I'm cutting some of the very low frequencies. So what I've done is to send those two guitar tracks to this bus here. Now, if you remember from the last video, I've panned these guitars pretty much hard left and right, and it sounds pretty good as it is, but I'm just going to filter off some of the low and the high frequencies. So again, let's add in FabFilter Pro Q3. Now I've filtered off a little bit at the top end as I want that first guitar part to cut through a little bit more. That's going to be a bit of a brighter part, so I just want to remove some of the top end from these two guitars. And bypass it. See that in the track? And now what I'd like to do, just to control the dynamics of those two guitar parts. Now again, as we're in the bus, I'm just going to add in an 1176. Now Universal Audio do some really fantastic emulations of their 1176. And again, I'm going to use the Rev A, which is like the blue stripe. Bring the input up. Right, I'm going to slow down the attack a bit, and again, just speed up the release. Right, if I solo that track and bypass the plugin, I'll bring it in halfway through. Now the great thing about using the blue stripe compressor is a slightly more aggressive sounding compressor, so it's just going to punch through the mix a little bit better. So I'm happy with the EQ and the compression on all of the rhythm guitar stuff. Now let's have a quick look at the lead guitar. Now when we were recording this guitar, we already put the API in one of the slots of the insert, so I'm going to leave that there as that's giving it a little bit of top. Now there's a couple of problem frequencies, so what I want to do is to try and remove those two frequencies before I go any further. So let's load in Soothe. If you've got any tracks inside your mix that you want to remove some frequencies, Soothe does a really good job, especially removing harsh frequencies. Now a little word of warning, don't use this on every track as your mix will start to lose transients and it will sound a bit dull and lifeless. Right, I'm just going to boost the cue, and now let's hear that in the track. We're pretty much getting there. Now I just want to add a compressor in there. I'm going to use another Fab Filter plugin, which is Pro C2. Now I'm going to switch this over to classic mode. Instantly that's sounding a lot better, but let's just slow down the attack a bit and let's speed up the release. Now I'm pretty happy with what we've done with the EQ and the compression, but let's just play the mix before we added all that EQ and compression. I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. I really hope you guys got something out of that. If you did get something out of it, do all the usual stuff, like, subscribe, comment, ring on the bell button, and you'll be notified of any future video that comes out from the Studio Rats. I'm Paul, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.